Hi, I'm Chris Barron with the Partnership for Learning in Seattle, Washington, part of the Ready Washington Coalition. We're here with Jeff Charbonneau, the 2013 National Teacher of the Year, science teacher from Zillah, Washington, tiny Zillah, Washington. First off, Jeff, welcome. Thanks for joining us. But explain where is Zillah and what you do at that high school.
Sure thing. Well, first off, thank you, Chris, for having me here today. I appreciate it. You know, Zillah, Washington is down in the Yakima Valley of south central Washington. We're a very small town, agricultural based, very rural. Only about 400 students in our high school, grades 9 through 12, so only about 100 per grade level. And it's a great community to live and work in. You know, it's actually the same school that I graduated high school from back in 1996. And I've been a teacher there for the past 12 years, teach chemistry, physics, and engineering, as well as the assistant drama director, yearbook advisor, freshman class advisor, and a couple of other duties. So really it's a small school that gives me an opportunity to do an awful lot of things.
So you were named National Teacher of the Year by President Obama in the spring. How does somebody from Zillah, Washington get recognized? You went from the state level all the way up to the national level. How does a teacher from tiny Zillah reach this peak?
You know, I'm still trying to figure that out. to be honest with you, you know, it starts out you get named Teacher of the Year typically for your school district, then for your region or ESD, then for the state, and then from the state goes on to the national level, which includes all 50 states plus the U.S. territories and the Department of Defense. So there's actually 54 state and territorial Teachers of the Year. You know, right, wrong, or indifferent, they chose me, and I'm pretty happy to represent. You know, it's one of those ideas that I take a lot of pride in being named National Teacher of the Year, but it's really not pride in my own work. It's pride in the 3.2 million teachers in the United States that are doing a great job day in and day out. I'm just one representative sample of so many other great teachers. You know, as a student at Zillah, I was able to learn from many of the teachers then, and as a co-worker now, I'm able to learn from many of those exact same teachers. And many of them are quality educators who are doing great things each and every day.
So as a teacher, you are known for having high expectations, and you've seen your students attain that, and no matter if they're from Zillah or Seattle or Spokane, students can achieve can rise to the challenge when they're given that challenge. Talk about that and at Zillah and what you've done over your 12 years to kind of hold students to a higher expectation.
You know, I think it starts off when I started teaching 12 years ago. I taught very traditional science classes, very high school base is what I like to call them, and I realized my students were bored. And there's two different responses you can have to student boredom. You can think, oh, the material is too hard, so I should lower my expectations, or maybe the students need to be challenged a little bit more. And I took that route instead, and I started raising the rigor in my classroom. And I noticed two things. Number one, as soon as I started doing that, student enrollment actually went up, not down. More students wanted to enroll in those classes because they knew they were going to get to do stuff. Within my chemistry classes, that meant that they got to go blow up some things out on the football field, you know, and have some fun with that. And the second thing that happened was that discipline almost completely disappeared. I haven't sent a student to the office in 12 years. You know, so students who are engaged and students who are being challenged each and every day educationally are really able to achieve and really able to go to another level. Some people then say, oh, okay, so he only teaches the more advanced students. Well, that's not true either. I have all students, grades 9 through 12, of all abilities when they walk in my door. I just make sure that my expectations are set the same for them. I have this concept that I like to call the fresh start. When a student walks into my classroom, I wait at least a week before I ask any other teachers about their backgrounds, before I look at any of the historical data on them, because I want them to have a fresh start and give them the opportunity to make a first impression on me. Then I'll go back and I'll look at all the data and everything else to help navigate the direction I'll take with them and how I'm going to help them improve. But the general concept behind that is, you know, Chris, think back when you were a sixth grader. Do you want to be defined each and every year for the rest of your life based on how you performed in sixth grade? Probably not. Probably you wanted a fresh start too. So I do that with my students.
So when you're talking about expectations, you also have been a supporter as a teacher of the Common Core State Standards and Next Generation Science Standards that Washington's adopting as well. I mean, talk about what's the importance of Common Core and Next Generation in our Washington classrooms and our national classrooms.
You know, I think one of the major pieces of importance to Common Core or Next Gen Science Standards is that it's an opportunity for me to know where my students need to be college and career ready. It's an opportunity for our third grades and our sixth grades and our ninth grades to know exactly where they need to be. Now, that's not anything new, really, for Washington State. We've had standards for a long time. What's new about it is that students who are in Washington can go to other states, transferring in the middle of their sophomore year, let's say, and be able to be in the same place. How often have you had a transfer student who was either way ahead or way behind compared to the standards that you had? Not through their own right, wrong, or indifferent, but just because the standards were different. That's what I like about the Common Core. You know, one thing that the Common Core is it's not going to tell me how to teach my classes. It's not going to tell me exactly what to do from one day to the next, but it's going to make sure that I get my students to the proper outcomes. So I'm very much for Common Core. I'm very much for Next Generation Science Standards when used appropriately, when used in a way that's going to guide but not drive my instruction.
And that's, and that shared expectations, the consistent learning expectations, Washington has had that, like you said, but the fact that this is a national, that the states have voluntarily adopted these, is important in a state like Washington. I mean, we have an agricultural community, we have a large military community, we have people moving in and out of this state and within communities around the state. So talk about the fact that you have a student showing up from say Maine or Florida and coming into the Washington, or even from a different school district in Washington.
Exactly. You know, if you look at the Yakima Valley, where I teach more specifically, and you look at just simply the turnover of students who are transferring out and transferring in, many of our schools might start the school year with one set of students and end the school year with 3/4 of their population different than when they started. And that's a real and significant area that we need to address, to make sure that our students, as they move from one location to the next, are being upheld to the same standards. One, so that we can make sure that we can continue to improve their educations, and two, so that we can continue to ensure that those students know what to expect when they go somewhere else. You know, how hard is it to move from one school to another from a social standpoint of making new friends and learning new routines? But if you have to learn an entire new education system when you change schools, that's pretty tough too.
And that's part one of our interview with Jeff Charbonneau, 2013 National Teacher of the Year from Zillah, Washington. You'll find the link to part two of this interview on our website at readywa.org.